What's up, everybody? Marc.antomattei here. I just got out of the movie theater to watch F1 on premiere night. I'm out here in the park having a cold one. You know, I was going to sit outside the movie theater and have this talk with you guys there and let you guys know my thoughts about this movie. Just way too many drunk people, too many drunk Japanese people out on a Friday night. So I had to come to a little bit more of a quieter place so that I can have this talk with you guys. I'm pulling up my notes as we speak. There's I don't want to say quite a bit to say about this movie, but I definitely do have enough to say. For anybody that loves cars as much as I do, and or racing films, you know, whether it be Le Mans, Days of Thunder, Gran Turismo, Ford versus Ferrari, you know, they're all good movies. This one is a great movie as well. It's too early to say where I would rank this amongst those upon just one viewing. But I'm sure, you know, come subsequent viewings of this film, I'll be able to place this in a more prime location of where I want it to go. This is from producer Jerry Bruckheimer, and also with a producer credit is World Championship F1 winner Lewis Hamilton, and from the director of Top Gun Maverick, Joseph Kosinski. You got music by Hans Zimmer, which sounds really a lot like more akin to something Giorgio Moroder would do inside of, I don't want to say Scarface. It just sounds like Giorgio Moroder's music inside of this movie. But it's from Hans Zimmer. It just has a very edgy feel to it. Very kind of pop edge feel to it. Not necessarily 80s, but it has a vibe to it. You'll know it once you hear it. You'll understand what I'm talking about. You know, this movie's not cobbled together. If you hear somebody say cobbled together, it makes it sound like something is just strewn together, like in hoping that shit will stick. This is not necessarily that. This is not that at all. Necessarily that. This is not that at all. This is a movie where you got the right people working together as a team, and they put in a collaborative effort together to produce and make a very fine film. This movie's not a masterpiece inside of the racing genre. Man, I got flying roaches out here. What the hell, man? All right, get my thoughts back together again. Let me compose myself, become a man again. I mean, that's stuff you don't see every day. You got people that came together as a collaborative effort to make a very good movie. I don't want to necessarily say that this is a masterpiece, because it's not a masterpiece, but it is a very great film and a very entertaining film. We never had the concept inside of our mind. We never had the inkling inside of our mind that Top Gun Maverick would surpass the original. I mean, who would have thought that could happen, could possibly happen like that? But yet it did. This movie is more or less a spiritual sequel to Jerry Bruckheimer and Don Simpson's Days of Thunder. The only thing that's really missing here is Tom Cruise. Why do I feel like he should have been in this movie as well? He should have been like a villain of a racer or something like that. But anyways, I digress. This feels like a spiritual successor to Days of Thunder, albeit that's about NASCAR and this is about F1. But they're both racing movies. They're from the same producer. They feel quite similar. Once you get through to the end of this movie, it's just like, it's not the same movie, but you know, it's riding that same wave. It's on that same wavelength, those same vibrations. You get sort of the same feeling from this. And when those credits roll up the screen at the very end there, you know, it ends on a high note, and it's a very good feeling that you get from this, as you got from that. It could theoretically be better. Let's just say it's equal to that, just upon first viewings and just first feelings. But to get right into it, you know, I already talked about the team that was involved with making this movie, and it is produced by Apple Studios. These guys have movies coming out inside of the theater now, and I'm talking about blockbuster movies. I would call this a blockbuster film. Whether it becomes a blockbuster at the box office is another thing, but in scope, in presentation, in star power, you got Brad Pitt, you got Javier Bardem. Man, this is a blockbuster movie. It is a blockbuster movie. I'm sure money was thrown into this, world-spanning, crossing continents to produce this on location. I mean, money has been spent on this movie. I don't know what the budget is off the top of head. I'm not going to look that up. I'm not going to waste my time with that. Let me just get right into it. The movie starts off with Brad Pitt. He stars as a aged race car driver named Sonny Hayes. And this guy was racing at the beginning of this movie, and he was quite a good racer, and he ended up winning the 24 Hours of Daytona for a Porsche team inside of this movie. Not really much of a spoiler. I mean, this happens at the very beginning of the movie. The guy has racing inside of his bloodline, comes down from his father, passed down to him, and it's just something that he just lives for. It's not so much about the money for him. It's just the act of doing what it is that you love to do. He'll participate inside of it for free if he has to. This is the type of person that he is, his character is, inside of this movie. But it starts off with him winning the Daytona race. And come to find out that this guy raced F1 about 30 years prior, I believe it were. You know, my memory is not that good. But I believe it was about 30 years prior he raced F1 inside of this fictional world. And an old teammate of his named Ruben Cervantes, which is played by Javier Bardem, you know, he's an owner of a F1 team that races AMG cars, and the name of that team is called Apex GP. He approaches his old teammate and says, listen, the board is giving me a hard time. We've lost racers. We're not doing that good. We're not winning any races. We need somebody on our team that's going to bring us a win and give us some, even if not give us podium status and being 1 to 3rd, you know, they could give us some points on the board, because by the end of this race season, I'm pretty much going to be broke and lose everything if I don't start winning. So he comes back to his old F1 teammate and hires him. He says, yeah, come race for me, man. You're going to get something out of this, and it's going to help me out a great deal, keep me from having to fold my company. Brad Pitt agrees to these terms. He comes on over to London and starts prepping with the Apex GP team in order to prepare for the second half of the race season, because the first half is already done and these guys have already been bleeding money and losing races and not getting much out of it. So they're hoping that this guy is going to be a Hail Mary and help them get some wins inside of this, the whole scope of things. All right, so that's where we're at now. It's a team. Apex GP is a team of 2 racers. You have Sonny Hayes, which is Brad Pitt's character, and then you have another character inside of the movie. I don't know who the actor is, but a very nice young, at least I think he's from London town, at least from the UK. Don't know this actor's name, but he plays a very nice character named Joshua Pierce, who's a young driver on this team, and it's just these 2 guys now. And the movie pretty much follows these 2 guys working in relationship with one another, and the friction between this so-called elder driver and this young driver. You know, they're pretty much clashing and butting heads at every single turn, no pun intended. And these guys are just losing race after race. They're not working together as a collaborative effort. You know, you expect at some point of this movie that things is going to turn up and be good for these guys, but it's just not. I mean, it's just, you're following these guys losing race after race for the absolute longest inside of this, and you're wondering when this thing's going to, you know, become right for them. And it just doesn't. And I guess this is part of the entertainment of the movie. You're watching, waiting to see what's going to happen inside of this long span of 155 minutes this movie was. It didn't necessarily feel that long, but that's how long it was. You know, as things are progressing, you're hoping that the friction between these 2 is going to get better. You're hoping that the accidents that happens becomes less. And you're hoping that they're going to turn a win at some point in time. Whether you see that happen or not at liberty to say, but it is entertaining to watch. Now, following in the footsteps of any Jerry Bruckheimer movie, especially Days of Thunder, since I did mention that this is the spiritual successor of that, you had Tom Cruise inside of that movie, and he had a love interest in that movie, be it with his ex-wife, Nicole Kidman. Brad Pitt finds himself a love interest inside of this movie as well, so it has that dynamic going for it. It's pretty much following the lines of Days of Thunder, almost, so to speak. With a love interest, you have enemies inside of here, you have a rivalry going on, right? It's just it's following that wave. So I can't say that this adds much of anything new to the dynamic of race movies. I walked into this movie not having any expectations, absolutely at all. I didn't know what I was going to see. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't really watch much trailers for this movie. I knew that Brad Pitt had gotten behind the wheel of an F1 car in real life. Whether he's behind it for much of the actual shooting of this movie, the actual production that ends up on screen, I don't know. But, you know, to say the least, in order to get ready for the role, he did get behind the wheel of one of these cars. So, you know, there was a lot involved inside of this movie. He tried to get into character, and it shows, man. You know, it's a really well put together movie. I was expecting something very serious. I was expecting like, I don't know what I was expecting. Just going into this with a clean slate and an empty mind, this was going to be like the Ben-Hur racing movies. I was like, I don't know. I was expecting this to be somewhat very serious, and it was gonna be a big spectacle. It was gonna be very theatrical, and it was gonna be played seriously. But it's a lot more lighthearted than what you think. Every bit as lighthearted as, you guessed it, Days of Thunder. So go into it. If you really enjoy that movie, then you're really gonna enjoy this one. But you go into it with that type of aura about you, that type of feeling, and you're gonna get that feeling out of you. albeit it's a little bit different. More or less, you're going to get that feeling from this movie, and I think you guys are going to enjoy it. So not only do we have the rivalry between teammates, but we also have some tension come up between the owner of the company, Javier Bardem, and Brad Pitt, who he brought on, and he's starting to regret that he has brought him on. We're having tension between Javier Bardem and the board, between the board and Brad Pitt. I mean, everybody is just at wits end with one another and at odds end with one another inside of this movie. And you're wondering, when is all of this just going to come to a head and this whole team just collapses, and what's going to happen next after that. So, you know, there's a lot of fighting inside this movie. Not physical fighting, but just fighting in general. You know what I mean. Being that this is from the director of Top Gun Maverick, Jerry Bruckheimer went from doing Top Gun to doing Days of Thunder. So he's did, you know, a fighter jet movie, and then he's gotten behind another vehicle and he's did NASCAR. And then, you know, he went back and then he did Top Gun Maverick, and now he's doing F1. So this is another vehicular movie following inside of this Jerry Bruckheimer sort of theme of how he has his movies. And this is also from the director of Top Gun Maverick. How does this compare to that? Well, I could say that emotionally, this is not as good as that. Entertaining wise, I mean, it could be argued, if you love cars more than fighter jets, possibly you could say so. But if you're impartial to whether you love fighter jets more than race cars, and you had to pick which one that you found just more entertaining as a movie, I would possibly say Top Gun Maverick is the better. Top Gun Maverick is the better film. Whether it's more entertaining, I guess that's in the eye of the beholder, but I'm going to say it's just a little bit more entertaining than this. But as a movie, that is a lot better than this. But this is still very watchable. You guys definitely need to go see this thing inside of IMAX. That is the only way to see it. If you're not going to see it inside of IMAX, you might as well just wait for it to come out on tangible media. Get it on your 4K. It'd probably make a very nice reference disc. The audio sounds good. The picture quality, it looks great. It looks fantastic. You know, it's really a spectacle of a movie, and it deserves to be seen the blockbuster way, the blockbuster style, in theaters on the biggest screen possible, so that you get every bit out of it that you possibly can. I have a few regrets in life. I wish I would have seen more racing movies on the screen, on the big screen, because they really are a spectacle to behold. I wish I would have. What are the movies that I mentioned at the beginning? You know, I was just a young boy when Days of Thunder came out. I ended up watching that on VHS about 100 times when I was a kid, but I never went to go see that in theaters. Le Mans was out before, with Steve McQueen was out before I was even born, so obviously I couldn't go see that. Gran Turismo, I regret not seeing on the big screen, and I regret not seeing Ford versus Ferrari on the big screen. I was like, you know, any other racing movies that come out from here on out, I'm going to be going to the big screen to see it because the audio sounds good, it looks good. So I made it a point to go out and see this, and boy, was I not disappointed. So I'm telling you guys, these racing movies are meant to be seen as they are, as the spectacles that they are. So please go see it on the biggest screen possible. The rating that I give it is watch it in the theater. Don't wait for it to come to rental. Don't wait for it to come to streaming. Rental. Yeah, I guess digital rentals are still a thing, but you know, like you go to Blockbuster to pick up the video to watch it. No, it's not like that. But yeah, go watch it. You guys are definitely going to enjoy this. Great movie. Watch it. That's all I got to say about that. All right, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this tangent of a review that I did over this movie. It feels very just me repeating myself a lot of times, but it was great. It was great. I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Salute to you wherever you may be out inside the world. Subscribe for more content such as this, and I will see you guys inside the future. Until next time, peace. God bless. I'm out.